Welcome back to the Iron King Inc. YouTube channel. Today we've got an update on the 120,000 hour D10R, and here it is. So just 2 weeks ago you saw a complete D10 roll into the shop here. It ran, it drove. Well, now it's almost a bare frame and we're almost finished with it here. Let's go take a look at some of the components that we're gonna save and some that we're gonna toss in the scrap bin. So here we have the track frames off of this D10. These are the track frames that I talked about in the previous video. I wanted to show you up close here. So the idler that failed, which you see it's on this back one here. So this is the main idler piece that failed here, and that dug into that bogie and ruined the bearing surface here. So the other side is good. It's not good, but it's still intact. You can see the bearing shell is still in place. This is what a good idler bearing and roller assembly is supposed to look like. The other side is what a bad one looks like. So as you can see here, this idler is totally kind of cockeyed in here, and it's been rubbing on this track frames. So the track frame here, I explained in the other video too, how they've welded this piece of plate here to strengthen this frame up. So the original frame is right here. The plate they welded on is right here. And you can see on this other side of the frame that we couldn't show before when it was on the machine, this is original track frame right here. So this is how thick it's supposed to be. And you can see no welded seam right here. And then you look at the other side, you can see where they've welded the plate, and look at how thin the original material is. So there's the original material on the bad side, and this is the original material on the good side. And you can see that they've welded this plate right here, and they've welded around this bogie pin. So here's the other track frame. This would be the right-hand side track frame on this dozer. So this is where your main pin goes through, and I have a bolt to kind of show you, but this bolt would go through here, or the pin would go through here like that, and then your equalizer bar would attach, and that's what allows your frames to oscillate up and down. And if you look inside here, it's had a pin failure, and it's rubbed almost all the way through on this side. And once that happened, it came loose, and they've actually welded the pin in place. That was kind of a bear to get apart. We had to cut all that free and then get the pin out. But once we cut this free, it was so loose that it kind of just fell right out. So this is the right-hand side track frame. Again, we have original material on the inside of the track frame, and then we have the added material where it was wore out. So track frames, we're gonna save the fronts, which is this piece right here. This is still good. We're gonna save the fronts on both of them. We're gonna save a lot of the bogies. We're gonna save a lot of the rollers. But unfortunately, the rear pieces of these track frames are too far gone. I would never trust putting these on another machine. So they're gonna go directly into the scrap bin. So here's the tracks off that D10R, which are surprisingly in good condition here. So good track pads. The rails are in really good condition. So if you look here, they're nice and flat. They have a ton of life left in the top of the rail here, or the bottom of the rail. The bushings are in really good shape. So the bushing is inside of here, and this is what your sprocket rides on. So inside here, there's not a lot of cupping. They're still nice and round, which I'm gonna go measure these and put these up for sale. But these are definitely something that we're gonna save on this tractor, and was a buying factor in this machine too. So whenever I'm looking at buying a tractor, I always check how good the undercarriage is. So one thing I was always told by my dad early in the days of buying machines is undercarriage sells dozers. And this one sold it to me. Hey Bamba, why don't you show these guys that pivot shaft where it was bad? So we've got Bamba here, and he's gonna show us. This is the pivot shaft of the tractor. So this is where your track frames would basically bolt to on the back of the tractor, and then you have your equalizer bar in the front. And Bamba pointed this out. This is where we cannot save this pivot shaft. It's gonna have to be thrown in the scrap bin. So show us what was going on here.
Okay, springs up. You see it here. It's bad.
These scratches. So what he's pointing to is,
Yep.
you can feel this with your finger. and there's a brass bushing that rides on here, and this is a machined surface with a specific tolerance that it has to have. And once this gets worn down to a certain point, you can't build it back up. What you can do is you can take this to CAT or a good machine shop, and they can actually turn it down and you can get a bigger bearing. But what I've run into is customers don't like that and that they don't sell. I've tried turning these down before and saving them and selling them with a bigger bushing. Customers just opt to go with a brand new one or a standard pivot shaft. So unfortunately, this piece right here is gonna be going in the scrap bin. So also make sure to check out our new merch that we have. This is the Iron King shirt with the shovel on the back. This is available on our website, ironkingmerch.com. Also have this one right here. Is this the shovel or the grader? I'm not sure which one it is. Got graders, dozers, shovels, bunch of cool shirts, and these are all personal pictures that I've actually taken at mines or at shops that we're working at. So please, if you want to support the channel, buy yourself a shirt, ironkingmerch.com. So another good piece that we're gonna save on this tractor is the equalizer bar, which I've kind of been talking about earlier in the video. So the equalizer bar is this piece right here. So this is what your pin goes through and your track frame attaches to that allows it to go up and down. So it's got a big giant pin in the middle of the dozer and it goes up and down. So it's kind of hard to show because this thing's super heavy, but basically this pin allows this equalizer bar to go up and down on each side and basically gives you your tractor suspension. This is a good equalizer bar. It's a nice late. It's the 222-3677, which means that it is a straight updated equalizer bar. And grease bar here, so you can grease it from here, and I believe you can grease it with an auto greaser right here. So there's a grease zerk on this side, which is part of the update on these equalizer bars. And basically this would run to a grease system or an auto greaser, manual greaser, but it allows you to lubricate this equalizer bar from up top of the machine instead of getting down low and getting inside of it and greasing it manually from these ports here. So this is a nice updated equalizer bar that we're gonna take out, rebuild, and then resell exchange. So here we have the multi-shank ripper that was attached to the back of this tractor. Now this is gonna be a hard one. So this ripper, I will say, is in pretty poor condition, but they're very hard to find. So a multi-shank ripper for a D10, and it'll fit an N, an R, a T, and a T2, at least the beam and the bottom bar will fit a T2. We're gonna attempt to save this. So you can see that it's had multiple repairs. So this is not a factory weld right here. So it's been repaired inside of the pockets at some point. I'm not sure what they were planning on doing right here or what this is. Some sort of strengthening bar, or at least they thought it was strengthening it up because it's got this on the bottom and this on the top. So I'm not sure what the point of that was, but what we're gonna do is cut all this material off. Down here, you can see that it's very thin. So if you look at this one side, you can see a whole bunch more material versus this side that's been worn down over time from hitting rocks, dirt, material. We're gonna go and build this all back up. A lot of wear usually happens in these pockets. So you can usually tell what side of the dozer they've been ripping on because they'll get wear inside of here. So the original material would have stopped right about here, and the shanks have wore into this pocket. So a shank is your ripper tooth. So this is called the tool bar. It holds the ripper shanks, and the ripper shank would go inside of here, pin through here to be held in, and then over time, when the tractor moves forward, the shank comes forward and it rubs into these pockets. So you always want to look and see how worn they are. So if you look at this one, it's like it's never been used. It still has factory paint in here, and it has a little wear mark right here. But if you can look at the difference between this one, which is in good condition, versus this one, or even this one on the side, I wouldn't say these are bad, but they are definitely worn. So you can see the wear mark here versus the virtually no wear on the middle pocket. We're gonna go ahead and move into the shop and check out the engine and the transmission on this dozer. So behind me, this is the transmission and the engine out of that D10R. And I explained in the video, the first video, about how this thing was a real good engine. So check this out. All of this exhaust piping has been replaced on it. It's got a brand new turbo on it, which you can tell just by the way that it looks. CAT turbo. There should be a reman tag on it somewhere. Let's see if we can find that. Might be covered up. Okay, here's the CAT reman tag right here. So we'll bring the camera up here, you can see. So there's the CAT reman tag on it. Now, when I bought this tractor, it did have work order history on it, and this engine only has 8,000 hours on it, which is really good for a big mining tractor. Half-life is about 12,000 hours. Now, 14,000 hours half-life. Full life, 20 to 25,000 hours. So this is a really fresh engine. It's gonna go real good in someone else's machine, and it's gonna save them a ton of money compared to buying a new one. Some other things I noticed on this, so you have your tag right here for basically when they rebuilt this thing. Here's the reman tag. And there's also, oh, it's gonna be on the other side of the machine, or the other side of the dozer. But the reman tag on the side of the block is also present, which is real good. One thing you notice here too, by just looking at this engine, is it's not all oily. There's not a bunch of leaks all over. I mean, it's dirty. You have a bunch of dirt all over it, but it's not leaking oil everywhere. It's really dry, which is really good to have. And once you see these super high-houred machines and high-houred engines come in, they have oil leaks, water leaks, they have a lot of exhaust leaks. This one doesn't really have that. You can see presence of probably a previous exhaust leak right here. This is probably why they changed out that turbo, and they changed out all of these exhaust bellows here. So I'm pretty excited about this. We're gonna go ahead and we're actually gonna send this engine to our local CAT dealer to get dyno tested, just to make sure it's nice and healthy. They'll take an oil sample, they'll run a full power test for about 6 hours, just to make sure that this engine is ready to go in someone else's tractor. And I want to point this out too. So Robert's been working really hard at building stands for us. I guess, what do you think of his welds? Are they good or are they bad? You'll have to throw it down in the comment section what you guys think. For not being a welder, I think he's doing a pretty bang-up job on building these stands. I do like this too. This is pretty impressive here. He cut this out of a piece of channel and basically made a mount for the front engine support here. Put 2 bolts in it and bolted it down. This weld, pretty good. I think he's definitely come a long way from where he started. Here's the transmission out of this dozer. So this is a 3KR D10R. I don't know a whole lot about this. It had on the work order 3,500 hours, which is pretty good. Usually you'll get 12 to 14,000 hours out of a powertrain component like this. So we have a lot of life left in it. Usually on big mining dozers and big mining applications, customers won't buy used powertrain components because that's what they already have. They have a real good maintenance program. They have expected life on components. And whenever they're looking to buy something, they're just going to buy it rebuilt every single time. So even though this thing's still in good shape, we'll probably end up rebuilding this transmission, dynoing it here, and then putting it on our shelf as a rebuilt exchange unit. We're gonna move to the back of the yard now, and I'm gonna show you guys the Hardnose. I'm gonna show you the hood, a couple other pieces that we're gonna try and save here. So we're gonna go here to the front of the shop where we have the Hardnose, the final drives, and the steering clutches. We'll check all those out because that's all gonna be saved. Ruining my shots. Hi, Brian. So here we are in front of what used to be the front of the dozer. This is the Hardnose of that D10R. This thing is actually in really good condition. So coming to the back here, the Hardnose, this big giant metal piece here, is what holds your radiator, holds your fan, it holds your grills, and a couple extra coolers. So looking at this, you could say, oh, it's old, it's wore out. But what you want to look for is the condition of the blast screens, condition of the radiator cores, the fan condition, and the general condition of the Hardnose here. So we'll start with the fan. Now, usually when these get wore out, they get wore out from sand and they get really thin up here by the blades. This thing's like new. Still has the paint on it. Definitely a good savable fan here. This is worth $2,000 to $3,000. You have your blast screens in here, which a blast screen is this big honeycomb looking thing, and it runs all the way down your hard nose, and that basically protects it from when this thing's pulling or blowing out material. It protects your radiator and it protects your fan. It takes all of the sand debris and slows it down so it can't act like a sandblaster machine. It stops that sand from blowing in and making all of this really thin and wearing out the front of your engine. So the blast screens are in really good condition. They call this the, so this is your fan guard right here. Really good condition. It looks like it was just replaced. You still have your part number there. And I believe there's a little date that says 2024 on it, so pretty fresh. Now, whenever you're looking at a front hard nose on a dozer, they actually call it the radiator guard, is the term that CAT uses. Slang term is the hard nose. You always want to look for cracks up in the top here, and I just don't see any cracks or anything that's been repaired. Usually these will get very damaged right here, so there's a piece of plastic that goes where the hood, this is where the hood would attach, and this would get real worn out, and this is still in really good condition. It's not bent. There's no cracks in here. It looks like A1 just did this radiator. So A1 is a radiator shop out of Elko, Nevada, and it looks like this is a pretty fresh unit that they just rebuilt and put back in this tractor just before this thing was retired. So then moving to the front of the machine, you have your radiator guards. They're still in okay condition. We would definitely resell them. We're not gonna throw them away. There's some damage here from when you're pushing material with your blade and you get rocks that come back. They get the radiator guard right here. It's still in pretty okay shape though. I mean, I would definitely resell this thing as a good used radiator guard. Just send them pictures before it leaves. But we can even open it up here. It's unbolted. So all of the radiator cores seem to be in pretty good condition. So what happens to these is they get sandblasted over time and they get clogged with material. And you can pretty much see right through this thing. Even down low right here is where they start to get real corroded. And that still looks real fresh. Still has all the paint on it. Someone's definitely gonna be very happy to have this radiator in their machine when theirs goes bad. Let's go ahead and move on. Let's check out those final drives and steering clutches. So here is what a good final drive looks like. I know you guys watched that last video of that catastrophic failure of a D10 final drive. Well, here's what a good one looks like, or one that's not exploded. So intact hub, not broken in a million pieces. Sprocket segments look okay. They're not part of the final drive, but we would actually keep these for one of our dozers or resell. These are still in pretty good shape. This is your final drive right here, and then you have what you call the steering clutch and brake system up top. Now, this is a 1060466, and then you have a 1102656 final drive. This is actually the older version. This is a 3KR AKT and an early RJG D10T steering clutch. The later steering clutches have been updated to, starts with a 2, it's a later number. And what they've upgraded is the anchor. And the anchor is this piece right here that bolts to the final drive. And what they were having a problem was these anchors where this O-ring sits right here on the bottom, because there's 2 O-rings, they would crack and then this whole final drive would break off the side of the tractor. These are the older version. They will not fit a earlier machine, or this is an older version, and they only fit the older tractors, so you can't take the newer one and put it on the older machine. There is not an update for that yet. So these ones, all we can do is take them apart, make sure that they're not broken, rebuild them, and then sell them on as a 3KR AKT or early RJG D10T steering clutch and brake system here. And there should be a part number. Yeah, it's gonna be on the other side. So the part number sometimes is on this side, but no, this part number is gonna be on the bottom of this steering clutch and brake system here. This one I think is the same way. Yep, there's just no way for us to tell right here if this is broken or not. We'll have to separate it and see what happens. So you can see here is your later final drive hub, 110-2664, which is the hub, and the 2656 is the entire final drive assembly. These will get sold on. I think we're gonna sell these just as good used final drives. We have so many of them already that are rebuilt, ready to go. We're gonna save a couple as good used to save some customers that wanna save some money, some cost on that. So we're gonna keep these as good used final drives. Either way, we're gonna rebuild the brake assemblies. So that leads us to the warehouse of parts. So that dozer with 120,000 hours, a lot of the components are gonna be saved. A few of the components, unfortunately, are gonna have to go into the scrap bin, but all of the saved components are gonna end up right here inside our warehouse for safekeeping until one of you guys needs one. Guys, I appreciate you watching these videos. I hope you found this one entertaining. If you wanna see more videos like this of me explaining what the part numbers are, how they work, what kind of different updates they've had over the years, please put that in the comment section. I actually have a lot of fun going through the knowledge of earlier CAT components to later CAT components and mixing them in between and seeing what you can update and what you cannot update. So anyway, guys, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Got any questions, throw it down in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next one.